The next team, alphabetically, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have no key free agents. They have a bunch of notable non-guarantees. Lou Dort, $1.9 million team option. Teo Maladon, $1.9 million guarantee. Vít Krejci, a $1.6 million non-guarantee. Mike Muscala, a $3.5 million team option. Aaron Wiggins, $1.6 million non-guarantee. Kenrich Williams has a $2 million non-guarantee. I would argue the vast majority of those that I listed off, whether it's a team option or non-guarantees, should be picked up. And that's where shit gets weird for the Thunder. Their best betting tool is the non-taxpayers mid-level exception. I don't know if they're going to use it because I don't know if they have the room on their roster to use it. If they picked up all their non-guarantees and team options, they're at, I think, 19 players based off who they added in the draft. They have 3 rookies that they drafted top 12 this year. So shout out to the Knicks for helping them get a third top 12 pick. So I don't know what to expect from them in free agency. I love the Chet Holmgren pick, and they're now sort of built to play super big. I think the need this team has at every position is just shooting. And I wouldn't mind seeing them get a different type of veteran center in here from Derek Favors, just because that could go a long way. But that's where I'm at with them. And then my final thing before throwing it to you is, like, there's going to be some, they're not just waving or getting rid of all these guys. There feels like there's going to be some consolidation moves here for OKC. Not to trade for a star, but just like they have too many players who are worth continuous looks.
Right. Yeah, no, the Thunder are difficult to evaluate just because they sort of, for the last 2 years, have operated unlike really any other team in the league. So it's hard to know what they prioritize. I do think we should mention that they still are, I mean, for the remaining, 6 days of this league year, they have like $31 million in cap space. So if they wanted, they still have the option of being a facilitator for a bad salary trade. How much interest they have in that is hard to say. They've been interested in that the last 2 off seasons. So that's something to think about. I mean, the guys that could fit into that there aren't a lot. And it's, what do the Thunder need, more draft picks? I guess always. But so that's one thing to think about. And then Lou Dort's kind of wonky, I'll probably get it wrong, but they can decline a team option on him, make him restricted, or they can pick it up and he'll be unrestricted next summer.
Would you do that? Would you pay him now as a restricted free agent?
Well, so my understanding is if they go the restricted route, they can pay him more because then he can sign for 25% of the cap after getting the qualifying offer. If they do it now, then they can go for I think it's 58 or 60.
The Josh Richardson special.
The Josh Richardson special. So if I am in a conversation with him and he wants that money now, I think I would do I'd do the Josh Richardson special for him for sure. Because I think he would have trade value at that number if he's not part of your big picture. And then it gets a little scary if you let him, if you start going higher than that through the restricted free agency route. So I want Dort. I mean, Dort is someone that every fake trade you make up for the Blazers before the draft for that 7th pick or for the Sixers or whatever, I think he should be in super high demand. So I think you lock him down at whatever a reasonable number is as soon as you can. And then I think potentially his trade value goes up because you're going to have him at a decent number.
I was curious if they were going to trade him and just for a future first, but you're right. Having a larger salary would be more helpful there. I don't have a feel for what they're going to do with Dort. And that's just based on how they've operated with non-star free agents of their own in the past.
Yeah.
But I without having clarification on the rest of this roster, I don't even want to name free agency targets. So I'm yeah, it'd be fun to see this team go out and try and get Chris Boucher, but they just don't have the room for him.
Right.
And, maybe they don't want to impede the growth of Chet Holmgren specifically, but some of the other bodies that are on this roster right now. I would expect it to be pretty uneventful when looking at free agency signings, which is by design. I mean, if they wanted to try and take if there's a distressed asset, that they want to try and, go after, I honestly, I don't know, but do you expect this team to add any sort of veteran on the free agency market?
No, I mean, the only route that I would see as semi-plausible is they kind of target some second draft guys, like a Lonnie Walker who's restricted, someone that you just think I trust the pedigree of 3 years ago versus what he's done with the team that drafted him. Like Jalen Smith, I think this is my second Jalen Smith mention, won't be the last. Just guys that are young enough to kind of fit with this team that's just like all upside basically, except for Gilgeous-Alexander. But yeah, I if they don't do something crazy with the cap space they have, that's going to be gone in a week, or less than that probably by the time this goes up, then I think it's just they'll consolidate, towards the end of the roster. Because you were right, I did count. They have 19 guys, counting their draft picks.
That's a lot. You cannot
That's
have 19 guys. Yeah,
that's too many actually, but it turns out. But yeah, I don't see any big moves. I think they're just going to stay the course and just let the youth develop. Because I actually, like, on paper now, they're really interesting with Chet and with Jalen Williams, and I'm forgetting who else, Jang, I think.
Yeah, Ousmane Dieng. So they can do a bunch of different things. I just don't even like what is aside from they go out. There's not even like a ton of. I was gonna say they can go out and just add shooting if they're gonna at least clear the roster spot for it. There's not like a ton of shooting available this summer. No. And I'd just be curious, especially if you're trying to skew the younger route. I don't know like what free agent shooter is going to want to choose the Thunder right now, knowing how mismatched they're playing. To like forget about their situation, just how mismatched their playing time would be. They would be like a fun TJ Warren like rehab spot, like for him to come out. But he's 28, and it's like, would they really go that route? I would actually love for them to go after Amir Coffey. Feels like that's someone that maybe they could, because they're still like, I don't think he's an advantage creator, but like someone, they need like guys who can shoot and handle the ball. And that's me probably taking shots at Josh Giddey at this point. Could they also still go the center route? Like they were a team that was like, does the mid-level get you Nick Claxton or Mitchell Robinson? Or like I said, Chris Boucher. Could you even still go that route? Or is just after the draft that you had, is it more like, no, like why would they didn't do that in the first place? They have JaMychal Green and Derek Favors. Why would they do that now?
Yeah, I think Claxton's on my list for them too. Hartenstein, I think, is another guy that just, he's young enough that it would make some sense, but it just doesn't seem realistic for them to go for kind of these. They're not veterans per se, but they're,
they quietly have a bunch of veteran bigs now too. Like if you keep Muscala and you have Favors and Green.
Well, I think like Malik Monk in theory makes some sense if you're looking for someone that can shoot, but like, I don't know. I mean, the reality is like, if you're a good young player who's good because you can shoot, you tend to not make it to free agency. That you get your 28, 30-year-old guys that hit free agency that can shoot. If you're young and you can shoot, your team tends to keep you.
The other thing here is like any of the names we're spouting off, I would argue Amir Coffey is worth it, but like none of the names we really spewed off was, you need to clear roster spots for and get rid of a bunch of, like, even Aaron Wiggins, like the rim pressure that dude provides. Like I want to further look at him if I'm okay getting into next season.
That's the thing. Whoever you're adding is just going to get in the way of the 6 guys at that position you want to see develop, right? Like, and you don't. I still think you might argue that the Thunder are going to try to angle toward winning more games now because maybe SGA is getting annoyed at all this. But
by the way, he doesn't seem like it. He came out his end of season presser. He just came out and said, "I'm very excited about the future of this organization, and it helps." It was still like it helps that they keep me so informed. I don't know where this SGA needs to get out of an OKC narrative. So I think it's just from Raptors fans who are thirsty to get SGA back in Canada. I really think that's what it is.
But so if the point is going to continue to be to play a bunch of like 20 and 21-year-olds and plus Gilgeous-Alexander, then like why are you looking at 25-year-old free agents that might not be huge upgrades anyway?